The wrong sentence shared with the wrong person can cost you your money, your job, or even your peace of mind. These are 5 things that I believe you should never share with just anyone. I'm 65 years old now, and I've learned a couple of these lessons the hard way. I don't want you to go through that kind of unnecessary pain. So let's jump in, and I'll share my list. The first one is this. Talking about your salary or your savings should be on a need-to-know basis. In my experience, when 2 people sit down and compare how much they earn or how much they've saved, one of them usually walks away disappointed, hurt, or even jealous. There's very little upside. I retired as a financial advisor, and in that role, I absolutely needed to know what my clients earned and what they had saved so I could help them properly. A mortgage broker needs that information, and a estate planning attorney needs it. That's why I say it's strictly on a need-to-know basis. The next one that can really come back to bite you is telling someone you're thinking about quitting your job or retiring. When you share that too soon, you hand the other person a lot of power. And why take that risk? If you tell a colleague you're unhappy and thinking about quitting, you've given them leverage over you. You don't want anyone to know until you decide the timing is right. Now, there may come a point when you've got your ducks in a row and you'd actually like to stay, if a few issues could be addressed. At that stage, it can be powerful to speak up. If it's the right time, sharing your concerns can help create changes that allow you to succeed, both for yourself and for the company. But casually mentioning that you plan to retire in 2 years or that you're thinking of quitting, that gives someone else control over your timeline. You should share when it's right for you. Take retirement, for example. If your organization knows you're planning to retire, they might say, "For planning purposes, how does the end of the year sound?" And you might agree without thinking it through. But when are bonuses paid out? In many companies, bonuses for the previous year are paid in January or February. You don't want to be nudged out before you receive what you've earned. Whether you're retiring or quitting, you want as much control over the timing as possible. The next lesson comes from my years working alongside attorneys. I'm not an attorney, but I've seen people grant power of attorney, usually to family members, trusting that person to act in their best interest. Sometimes that's absolutely necessary. If someone has a stroke or loses capacity, they need a trusted person to act on their behalf. But short of that kind of situation, handing someone that level of authority is serious business. It should never be done lightly. If you believe you need to grant power of attorney, sit down with your attorney. Your attorney. Even if a child says, "Mom, Dad, talk to my lawyer." No. You want someone who has a fiduciary duty to you. Just keep that on your radar. And for clarity, I'm not giving legal advice or financial advice here. Just sharing what I've seen over the decades. Okay, number 4. What you really think about your boss, or people you strongly dislike. That circle should be very small. If you're married, confiding in your spouse is one thing, but telling coworkers, even your kids, that can backfire. Imagine your boss comes over for dinner and a 10-year-old repeats something you said. Even a teenager or young adult may not have the discretion you need. Once those words get out, you can't pull them back. I've seen careers derailed because someone's private frustration became public knowledge. Your boss holds influence over your opportunities. You want them rooting for you, not questioning your loyalty. Bosses are human. They have strengths and weaknesses. But sharing your harsh opinions usually has more downside than upside. And that brings me to number 5. There's also a bonus after this one. If you have a serious mental health condition, be very careful who you tell. When COVID first hit, I experienced anxiety for the first time in my life. I sought professional help, and I'm glad I did. I was fairly open about that. But if I had a long-term condition, not triggered by an obvious event, I would have thought carefully about who needed to know. I believe we should remove the stigma around mental health. That's important. Still, in the real world, sharing certain information can sometimes work against you. Particularly in competitive work environments, people may quietly question your reliability. It's not always fair, but it happens. I don't want to see that kind of disclosure limit your opportunities. Now for the bonus. Never share your passwords. Maybe with your spouse, perhaps with a trusted adult child. But even then, be cautious. Over the past couple of years, I've made it a priority to improve my digital security. I now use a reputable password manager. If I need to share access, I can do it securely through that system without revealing the actual password. Especially if you reuse passwords, which many people do, you're risking your financial accounts and your email. And your email is the key to the kingdom. So be careful. Those are the 5 things I believe you should never disclose, plus one bonus. If you found this helpful, I think you'd enjoy the next video the algorithm recommends. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. Take care.